Every once in a while, when you're poking around the internet, you come across a website that's so interesting, you end up getting into what we call the rabbit hole. You go down the rabbit hole. You start drilling into the site, going through their searches, pulling up items, and one thing leads to another. And suddenly an hour or two has gone by, maybe longer, maybe a whole afternoon has been spent. And this website that I'm going to talk about today is just one such site that's on the internet. And this is the collection of the Royal Trust, the Royal Collection Trust. And what it is this is the art collection of the British royal family. And they do have a website. It's pretty fascinating to take a look at. And there's a good explanation of what it is, what it's about. It includes the royal houses. It includes the curation of the art collection, the maintaining of the art collection of the royal family. And it is one of the great art collections in the entire world, separate from the V&A and all the other great British museums there are. This one is singularly unique because it's about the royal family and their connection to the rest of the world and their support of the arts and things that have been acquired over hundreds of years and incorporated into various houses. They've been inventoried, studied, and they have an extensive conservation department. And it's an absolutely fascinating place, You can come to the About page and read about it. This is the home page. They just happened to be having, how it got brought back to me was I was going to add it, which I've now done. I was going to add it to the home page of the Bidamount site a couple of years ago, and I had put it aside as one of the institutions, and one thing led into another, and we all got busy on things. I never did it, so it has now been added to the home page on Bidamount. If you want to go check it out and look around, there it is, the Royal Collection Trust, Britain. All right, and if you go over there, you're going to come to a page. The link to the search page is like this. And it's a really interesting way that they let you search on here. You come to the top of the page, and all I did on this page, and I found this worked pretty well, I came over to this home page, and in the search area, under collections, I just typed in China. That's all I typed in, Chinese. And what it came back with was hundreds of pages of objects that have been put in the British royal family's collection over hundreds of years, and the documentation of where they came from and how they came about getting them, and they date them, they describe them beautifully, and the photographs are exceptional. The photographs are really exceptional. And we're going to show you some of them and go through it. For example, they have here this Jiajing period coral ground and famille rose vases. And one of the things that really struck me was we're so used in the market to seeing things that have been in collections and been passed around and have gone from collector to collector, handled quite a bit, and the wear. And you don't often see pieces that are in such extraordinarily pristine condition because they were often acquired by the British family when they were brand new, and they were just simply put in the collection and kept there. They weren't knocked around. They didn't come in and out of auctions. They weren't out in some house where they're going to be exposed to horrible things in the environment. And here you have a pair of Jiajing vases that are in such absolutely phenomenal condition. They're really interesting to look at. There's no wear on the edges. There's no chips. There's nothing to complain about as far as the condition goes. They are in absolutely amazing condition, and they almost look brand new because they are in the condition they were made when they were brand new. They've not been damaged. They all have labels and so forth on the bottom here, and if you go through the collection, you'll see what the Royal Trust labels look like and all that, which I find a little bit worrisome because, for sure somebody's going to start copying them and putting them on fakes. But the royal family's not selling any of their art, so let's, if you see that sticker, you can just disregard it. And in here's a very good explanation. And at the bottom, when they talk about certain things, like here it's Famille Rose, they talk about the introduction of Famille Rose porcelain and how it was favored by Kangxi at the end of his reign, and he encouraged its use and so forth. Absolutely fascinating. And then they have things like this in the collection. This is the thing that's also great, is that not everything, not all of the porcelain and not all of the objects, the jades, the bronzes, and so forth in their collection are extremely rare. They have things like these, and we've seen these before. These turn up on the market. A very nice pair of 1780s to 1800 export porcelain vases. These are about 12 inches tall. They're not unusually large, but beautifully decorated and in exceptionally good condition. Very, very fine condition all the way up. There's a little tiny bits of wear to the gilding here and there, but nothing much at all. And there's a very good explanation of them and how they got them and where they're located in the collection. And then you come across things like this, which is interesting if you're a collector or dealer, dating things, looking at imperial objects and a very high price, out of range for most of us objects. You can look at those. They've been published heavily and dated and so forth, and you can work with those. But very often, some of the biggest problems are dating things that we see fairly often because misconceptions get put out about how old something is, and often they tend to date things later than they were in many cases. And here is a classic case in point. Here you have these white crackle ground vases, beakers, 3 vases, with this overglaze or iron decorated work here. And many people tend to think that these were only made in the late part of the 19th century. A lot of them were, and it became very, very fashionable at that time with a more brownish glaze and other enamels. But these white crackleware pieces, like Yiware, that were this crackle that was made so popular in the Sung dynasty, came back and was done with considerable numbers in the 18th century as well, and into the early 19th century, late Qianlong to Jiajing period. And here are 3 of them. And they have these dated as late 18th to early 19th century. All right, that's how they've been dated. All right, the other thing, if you come back over here to this page that we did this Chinese search on it, if you scroll down, you're going to come across, to drill down a bit here, some porcelains that are the kind of porcelains that you see that turn up on the market that are not extremely rare, like these pseudo tobacco leaf dishes, this Famille Rose meat dish, and so forth. And you will find them very accurately dated. And there's also a large number of early 19th century Famille Rose porcelains in their collection that are, they sell in the market today for $600 or $700, $800, not extraordinarily rare, but they've dated them. So you can come over here if you have a piece of Famille Rose, and there's a pretty good chance something very close to it is going to be in their collection. There are, if you see here at the bottom, 241 pages under just Chinese. Doesn't include Japanese, Korean, other ways of getting to information. The other thing that's in the collection that's absolutely fascinating are they've displayed a lot of the ormolu mounted porcelains, the ones that have these gilt bronze decorations on them. And you get a really good chance to take a look at them. A lot of the porcelains were made in the 18th century, and then the mounts were added between 1800 and 1850. And here you have one. Let's see, when were the mounts? The mounts were done in 1807. And I found this vase to be absolutely fascinating because look, the gargoyles or the griffins on this thing almost look Art Deco. They almost look Art Deco. This vase almost looks brand new. Look at the condition it's in. It's mind-boggling because this is what they looked like originally. These have been kept in the royal collection. So you have a Qianlong red-glazed, copper red vase with this spectacular early 19th century mount. set of mounts that have been put on this. Just absolutely fabulous, done in Europe. And these are the kinds of things you can see there, and they're really helpful when it comes to dating objects. Extremely helpful. Here's a dish here. This was funny because I noticed up here they dated it 1896 to 1820. It was supposed to say 1796, obviously, and it's a Jiaqing period bowl. Beautifully decorated, nice famille rose enamels, very crisp, very clean. And these bowls were replicated late in the 19th century. They did make copies of these, but this is what the originals looked like. And it's a great reference. You can come back to it and you can study how the enamels are done, how the outlining is done, how the rims are done, and given this gold finish and so forth. There's a good image of the mark. It's a provincial mark, but it is a Jiaqing mark. And here's another photograph of it. Apparently there were two of them in their collection. Here you go. They have one from the outside and a shot from the inside. It's an older photograph, obviously. It's all in black and white, but most of the pictures are in color. And this was something I found interesting too. It's an 1800s to 1820 Jiaqing to early Daoguan period cobalt ground vase, and with a lid. And what's interesting is that most times when pieces are given lids, the lid, the upper lip here is left unglazed up around here. Here they glazed it right to the top, and then they just left the flattened part on the inside unglazed. They glazed it all the way over. And this kind of a vase, we've seen them before. They've turned up on eBay without the lids. Having the lid is extremely rare. But these always get pushed as being Kangxi or Qinlong period. All right, and these cobalt ground pieces with gilding were made right through the Guangxu period. They made these forever. This one was made in basically the first quarter of the 19th century. But it's a great example to be able to study the gilding, how the gilding is applied, how it's drawn, and all that, because the gilding on here is still overwhelmingly intact, which isn't something you see very often. Often the gilding is all worn off because somebody washed the piece with a strong cleaner, used ammonia or something, and stripped the gilding off. And here you have it. It's been beautifully kept with very little wear or apparent wear to any of the gilding all the way down the body of the piece. It's an absolutely splendid example. And because of the way they allow you to enlarge the pictures, you get a really good look at that foot rim, that rounded, creamy, smooth foot rim with just a few little iron inclusions here and there you have it. And it's certainly worth studying. This was a pretty good size vase too. Down here under physical properties, you can always look it up. Yeah, it was 94 inches tall. So this jar is 3 feet tall, basically. So it's a 36-inch tall example. Very unusual, very large. Most of the ones you see on the market are under 15 inches, that kind of thing. The other thing that they have in this collection are old photographs, and they have the negatives and the positives, which I think is sort of fun. But here they have a black and white photo that was taken, I don't know if they say when it was taken, but it was 1897. I was going to say around 1900. But you can blow it up. The quality of these old plate photos tend to be very, very good. So if they do a nice job of scanning them onto the site, you can blow them up considerably and really get into the details. And here you have it. Okay, it's a beautiful old photograph, wonderful photograph. And let's see, what are they saying about it? Bronze vessel, negative of a bronze vessel taken circa 1908. But it was given, here it is. The vessel was given to the Queen Victoria by the Emperor of China in 1897, and it was sent to the London Museum on July 1919 by Queen Mary. And it was commissioned by the Royal Collection for inventory purposes. So there you have that. And you have all these great examples. Here's another one, another terrific bronze. I think, was this also given at the same time? No, it was. It was given by the emperor in 1897. This would have been the Guangxu period, Daoguan period, Guangxu period, and again, the history of its how it got to be in China, a gift from the emperor, which is a pretty rare thing, and there you go. And then they have this, another gift. During the Guangxu period, they sent a lot of stuff to the Queen of England because they were really trying to open up relations. You have this Guangxu period dragon bowl. It's about a foot in diameter. It's not an enormous one. They made some that were very, very big. But it has this rare mark on the bottom. Here it is. And made for the palace of, the Palace of Gathered Elegance. And you see this mark occasionally, and these plates in auctions sell for a lot of money. They bring anywhere from 30 or 40 up to $100,000. They are very, very rare. And this one is in incredibly fine condition. The condition of this plate is just absolutely stupendous. And you notice how much you can blow it up to study it. You can really get into the weeds on these things with these photographs that they've provided. It's absolutely great. And then over here, there's a photograph. This is an interesting old photo. It's worth looking at. And there are lots of photos in here of old China. Photos of Hong Kong Harbor, photos of Shanghai, all kinds of street scenes, shops. Absolutely fascinating. And this is possibly, they believe it's the government house in Hong Kong, the British government house, which Hong Kong was under the control of the Brits around that time. And they have sort of cultural objects in here, and most of these are appear to be like a selection of examples or samples of the beautiful cabinets they have them in with all this carved backwork in them. But a lot of them are roof tiles. Here you have all the Fulian roof tiles that you see, made in Guangdong and those places. Then you have the end tiles, these round discs and so forth. And then there's some assorted reticulated pottery, all kinds of interesting stuff, cricket sticks, coffee pots. And it's fun to go through and look at these. And then you have all these wonderful, wonderful wood carvings and so forth. And this very nice old monochrome jar tucked off to the side and so on. Okay, just absolutely fascinating. Then you have this bowl in here that looks like it's Japanese Meiji period. Somehow that got tucked in there. Sort of curious and so forth. But at any rate, it is worth going through here just to see some of these great pictures like that. And then you have government official photographs. This was two gentlemen who were involved with the signing of the Treaty of Tientsin. And then on to this, 1854, an exhibit at Marlborough House that was conducted. And they displayed some absolutely phenomenal carved Chinese export ivory. And ivory sort of right now is sort of on the outs with everybody because of the laws. Though I have noticed a number of auction houses are starting to sell ivory again, so maybe they're lightening up on them. But this is a spectacular first half of the 19th century ivory. And the carving quality here is just over the top. And here you have it's a day has all the days of the week in here to put cards and notes and calling cards and whatnot. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. All right, and then you have individualized little Chinese domestic scenes to share with everybody. And here you have an immortal down here, crouched next to a bucket, being embraced by a bat, and then it's mirrored on this side. Just splendid thing. And let's see, this was commissioned by Henry Cole and later acquired by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. All right, so that ended up belonging to the royal family. It was a gift. And they have photographs and paintings that were taken at the Great Exhibition in 1851 in China. This was the Crystal Palace exhibition that was more commonly known as. And this painting was done by, was it Nash, I think, did this one. Do they say? Pretty sure it is. By Joshua Nash. I'm certain it is. At any rate, this is a picture of the Chinese exhibition that they sent. The Brits did the Crystal Palace exhibition mostly to highlight and focus on England's amazing industrial abilities, engineering skills, things they could create and produce. Half of the exhibition at the palace, the Crystal Palace, was dedicated strictly to Britain. The other half was dedicated to the rest of the world, which is sort of funny. And this is the area that the Chinese had set up. And it's actually quite large. It goes from here all the way down to these banners over here. There were several areas, fairly extensive, full of porcelain, full of fish tanks and all this. And you see the folks sitting around in the outfits of the day. You have these pigskin bladder lanterns hanging overhead everywhere. all these wonderful lanterns. And a lot of these are things that you see today that were shipped over as export items, and they turn up. You have these wonderful ceramic, again from Guangdong province, these tiles, and you see them along on fences used on terraces. Also, there was a very large set of these down at the Captain Robert Bennett Forbes house here in Massachusetts, down on the South Shore, and that was acquired about the same time that this exhibition was done. So it all makes sense. And here you have the China sign spelled backwards because it was meant to be read from the other side. But just great paintings of all the stuff here. This little girl who's just amazed looking at this black lacquer box and so forth. Tremendous stuff. And here's another view that was done of the scene. Now, the Tunis exhibit is back here. This is a little confusing. This is China. This is China. They call this the Tunis exhibit painting because it shows the entrance to Tunis. Tunis, I don't know if everybody knows where Tunis is. Tunis was in the northeast coast of Africa on the Mediterranean. The Chinese exhibit, this was the area we were just looking at, and it went all the way over to here and then and a bit more. But notice the bronzes. All this kind of thing, just some absolutely great things in here, in this beautiful cabinet and so forth, and lots of big, enormous vases that they sent over. All right. And then there are, of course, in the collection, Imperial porcelains, like this one. Absolutely fantastic Qinlong Marken period vase that is 51 centimeters tall. So this is a pretty big vase. It's about 20 inches tall, 18 to 20 inches tall, but splendid condition and just absolutely stupendous quality. Here you have it with this just over-the-top heaping and piling effect, which they were bringing back in the Qinlong period. And there you can see it. These very dark areas all over it, and really quite exceptional all the way around. And also they have a very good photograph of the mark for those of you that like to study marks, and then the history of the pieces down below, how they came about to acquire it. Also, there's an extensive, apparently, somebody in the royal family, I think, was very fascinated with lacquer because there is an extensive collection of very fine Chinese lacquerware in their collection. And you have this one, this very, very well-known type of Qinlong box. And what I absolutely love about it is that they did such a great job photographing it. You can bring it all the way in and really examine the surface and the carving technique, and you can see how they cut into the layers and so forth. Absolutely splendid example, Qinlong, probably in the first half of the period. And here they have a breathtaking Qinlong cabinet, absolutely stupendous, and with dragons all over the front of it and gilt bronze mounts running down it, and then the fish pattern at the bottom. This is clearly an imperial cabinet of the best quality, and was probably a gift. It was probably a present. And I didn't read the whole history of it, so I'm just assuming that. Text: provenance acquired by Queen Victoria in 1897, presented by the Special Ambassador Zhang Yinheng on the occasion of Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee, and it was received as a royal gift. And so forth, and that's where it came from. So it was a royal gift on the Silver Jubilee, okay, for Queen Victoria. And then on to this, and this is a type of vase that we've seen in auctions in recent years. There was one not that long ago, I forget what was it, Marchand, or somebody had this style of vase that was around about 35 inches tall or something, as I recall. This one is much bigger. This vase is 5 feet tall. This is a massive Famille Rose vase, and it was given to the royal family by friends of the royal family. It was just sort of a nice little gift they'd sent over back in the day to Queen. I think this was given to Queen. Was either Queen Victoria or Queen Elizabeth. Provenance presented to Queen Mary. Okay, it was printed to Queen Mary by friends in 1935. There it is. Absolutely spectacular. A vase, Famille Rose, the best of the very, very best. And here's another shot of it up on a table on a, what kind of table is it on? It doesn't say. It doesn't show it. So it looks like it's on a pier table or something. But again, you notice the condition. The condition is absolutely splendid all the way around. The finial looks great, and I like the fact they shot it in the mirror, so you can see the rest, some more of it over here. All right, and then onto here, another pair of Qinlong vases that were given to the royal family. They're in their collection, and then this another. They love Qinlong vases, by the way. If you type in Ming or do any searches on here, you'll find some. You'll find quite a few very good pieces. But if you type in, you look for Kangxi and Qinlong, Daoguan and Jiajing and that sort of thing, you find quite a few pieces in all materials, from jades to lacquer to bronze, but not so much in bronze. They have some bronzes, but not a lot of them. I think a lot of them were donated to the British Museum. I think maybe the royal family wasn't so fond of them as decorations. Who knows? But they have this double gourd Qinlong vase, and it's done in that cloisonné style, where it's outlined in gold the way they did cloisonné, but sort of emulating cloisonné, but beautifully done, nice thick enamels. And this was a style where they used these thick enamels that was used in the Qinlong period. And the greens and so forth are shaded in, but some of the enamels will be rather opaque. And the use of very opaque enamels came back heavily into fashion in the 1930s, and you begin to see them again on reproduction. So you want to be very, very careful that you're not looking at a 1930s piece thinking you're looking at a 1750s piece. All right, and then you have another more lacquer like this. This was one of my favorites with the Fu lions on it, jumping around in black waves, but stupendous quality all the way around. And you notice the condition again is just absolutely perfect, absolutely pristine condition. But a very rare type of lacquer box. Let's see the date. It looks like an 18th century date to me. Horizontally includes a 6-character rain mark below the inscription. It was donated to the Queen. And there it is, Qinlong period. Okay, that's what I thought. Just double checking. And then back over to this, an Imperial Datsai enamel dish. Again, spectacular condition, spectacular quality. And it's, again, one of these things you can come over and pull it in and really pay close attention to and study to the enamels and how it was drawn, the drawing style, the symmetry of the drawing style, how they accomplished it, and how consistent they were with their enamels. Just absolutely meticulous all the way down the piece, with including lots of Buddhist symbols, of course, a good photograph of the mark, and then a profile shot, which are very useful because they can show you how the potter shaped the thing. All right, overview shots don't do you any good. One of the ways you can learn about and how to date things is by the shape of the object. Is the object shaped appropriately for the period? And here you can get a good look at it. You can see how the potter pulled it up, a nice rounded sort of a cyma curve on the side here, and then a slight outward turn at the rim. And very nicely done all the way through. So you got to check this site out. You got to spend some time there. Go around. There's lots of historic photographs. There are paintings that were done of Chinese dignitaries, done by British artists. It really shows the interplay. This site really is a inventory or architecture. It's a record, basically, of England's relationship to China. It's also their relationship to many other countries around the world. We're just focusing on China, but there's information here about Japan. They've got an exhibit right now going on of Japanese stuff that is basically about the trade and the relationship between England and Japan. So it's a very interesting website. It's beautifully kept, easy to use, and you can poke around and you can see some of the houses that they take care of. They have quite a few good inventory shots of inside the houses, and it's just a lot of fun to look at. And the parts of the museum are opening back up again now that COVID has sort of gone by over in the UK, and some of the places where they had the openings in the countryside on weekends and so forth are coming back. So if you're going over there, look into visiting some of the Royal Collection Trust buildings, and but do use the site and go over there and check out what they've got, and use it as a dating tool. And here's the exhibit that's currently going on: Japan Quartz and Culture. Worth looking at. Nice exhibit, and they publish books as well, so you can buy books from them, and they're not crazy expensive. So all in all, it's a good outing from your laptop or your computer if you're going over there to sort of get a primer on what you might see, and I hope you do. All right, we'll be back later in the week with our other videos, and thanks for watching, and subscribe if you enjoy these. Okay, leave a comment. Tell me what you think of this. I think it's a great place. Fascinating. Okay, bye-bye.